What's up guys, Bret here, and here's how to really retire early. A step-by-step guide on how to work, travel, and relax on your own schedule. And that means no boss, no horrible commute, and no general burnout. Now, whether you're a millennial or not, you probably think that you're pretty young, right? Except here's something that we don't want to hear. Us millennials are getting old. Okay, just kidding, that really depends on what you consider old, but the youngest of us millennials is already 27. Yep, we're no longer the teenagers that we used to be, or the 22-year-old spring chickens. So I've got some good news and some bad news for you. The bad news is that most of us think that we're too young to even start planning for retirement. The good news is that we can start today. We can start picking up these habits that will allow us to be financially independent and retire early. And this all starts with spending within your means. This is the most basic financial rule, and it basically means that the amount of expenditure, the amount you're spending every month, needs to be less than the amount that you're bringing in. And this is obviously easier said than done, but it's something that we can all work towards. To start with, you just need to do the maths. You need to define what your means are and how much you bring home every month after tax. And then you need to create a budget, and creating a budget is really easy. There's loads of apps and things that you can use, and I actually made a video that I'll link down in the description if you want to check it out, and for creating a budget and having it on your phone. And I get it, creating a budget can seem like an absolute chore, and sticking to it even more, but this is a fundamental principle that you need to do in order to be financially free, financially independent, and retire early. On the flip side, if you spend more than you earn, this leads to a vicious cycle of credit card debt, stress, and not being able to save for the future. Okay, so once you've created a budget that you're comfortable with, and what you want to try to do is make it work so that you're saving around 40 to 50% of your income, the next best thing that you can do is maintain that budget, maintain that lifestyle for the next 5 to 10 years. Make sure that you don't let lifestyle creep take over, because that's going to completely screw up everything that we're trying to do here, and I'll talk more about that later in the video. Next up is all about accommodation, and I think that this is the most important step in order to be able to retire early, because housing, accommodation is most people's biggest expense. And if you can reduce or completely eliminate this expense, you're going to be so much closer to early retirement, to financial freedom than most other people. Now, we all need a place to live, of course we do, but buying a house can be such an emotional affair. Sometimes when you go and view it, you can fall in love with one that you can't really afford. You might feel like stretching your budget, but most of the time that's not the wisest thing to do. So the key here is to aim for a house that meets our needs, that does the job, right? Not the most expensive one that our budget can afford if we're stretching it. Buying a house that you can't afford basically just means that you're buying into a false image of wealth. Now, owning expensive things, having an expensive house, and leading a lavish lifestyle is basically just a combination of things that is going to lead to a lifetime of debt. The thing is, being rich isn't about owning a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, having the biggest house. It's about having freedom. Freedom to travel the world, freedom to just do whatever you want on your own time, whether that's spending more time with family or just chasing your wildest dreams. And I'd actually go one step further as well and say that buying a house that's beyond your means is actually going to limit your potential to make more money in the future. Instead of letting your money work for you, you're going to have to work harder to pay off that loan, to pay off your mortgage, and you're not going to have excess money to invest in property, in the stock market, or starting up your own business. So for example, say that you're choosing between two houses. One of the two houses costs 400K, the other one costs 600K, and you're going to be paying off that mortgage at an interest rate of 1.7% over 30 years. If you pick the cheaper one over the more expensive one, you'd have an extra £710 every month to invest. Now that might not sound like a lot, but trust me, it has the potential to be a lot. So let's say that you went for the cheaper one. You had the extra £710 every month to invest, and you invested it into the stock market with an average return of 7% a year. You would have been able to grow that money to £830,000 over the next 30 years. Now, for those 30 years, you may not be living in the most lavish house. Your peers, your friends might have nicer houses than you do, but at the end of the day, you're gonna be the one laughing. Quickly as well, if you do end up investing in a house that has more rooms than you need, a great idea is to get friends or to get anyone in basically to fill those rooms and to pay you rent. This will help you pay the mortgage or completely eliminate any mortgage payments that you have and free up more cash for you to invest. And if you don't mind that lifestyle, this is a great option. Now, next up is to diversify your income, and this just follows the principle of not putting all of your eggs into one basket. The less reliant you are on one source of income, the more resilient you'll be when times are tough. So, just as you would diversify your investment portfolio to minimize the risk of any individual company that you've invested in going bust, having a diversified income also offers that financial protection and allows you to save more every month. Now, you've got the option of diversifying your income with both active and passive income streams. And where active income may involve working for an employer or working on your own business, Passive income, in contrast, will make you money while you sleep. And this is what makes passive income so powerful. You don't need to constantly invest your time and money into those income streams, into those revenue streams to keep bringing you money in every month. Of course, though, at the beginning, you do need to invest substantial time and money to get it off the ground. But once it's there and once it's going, it should pretty much sort itself out. Now, in terms of passive income ideas to consider, I have actually made a whole video on this and I'll link it down in the description. You can go and check that out if you want to get some ideas. What I would say about this, though, is don't copy what other people are doing. It's good to get ideas, but these days it's so easy to go into Google and type in most popular passive income ideas. But the thing is, Google is programmed to show you the most popular content. And that popular content is going to be something that so many people are already trying to do. So try to think of something unique to you. Okay, now next up is to start a financial plan as soon as possible. And lots of people never make a financial plan, but this is really, really important. And I know it can be really easy to fall into the trap of just thinking that when you start earning more, you'll save more, you'll be all right, or you'll only start planning for retirement later when you're older. The thing is though, good financial habits that you start to learn and foster now will see you through to an early retirement, whereas practicing poor financial habits now is going to mean that you're going to retire later. It's up to you though. You need to choose what habits you want to prioritize because there is a playoff. Saving money and being more frugal does mean that you have to sacrifice other things in life that you may want to prioritize. But what's for sure is that the later you leave it, the less time you give compound interest to work its magic. Now let's talk about what compound interest is. So for example, let's say that you're aiming to retire when you're 60 and you start investing £500 a month when you're 30. So for 30 years, you're investing £500 a month with a 7% interest rate. When you're 60, at the end of those 30 years, you're going to have £613,000. Now, in contrast, if you were to do the same thing and invest £500 every month from the age of 40 until 60, so for only 20 years, at the age of 60, after 20 years of investing, at 7% still, you'll only have £261,000. Now, that's less than half. And that is why it is so important to invest as much as possible or as much as you can afford as soon as possible. For example, I've already started an investment account for my 3-month-old daughter. I'm not investing crazy amounts, but I am investing small amounts regularly. Okay, number 5 then is lifestyle creep. Don't become a victim of lifestyle creep. And I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I want to talk about it in a little bit more detail because it can really be a hindrance to retiring early if you're not careful. How many people do you know who moved into a bigger house or upgraded their car when they got a pay rise? Now, this is what happens when we view luxuries as necessities. Lifestyle creep is that sneaky enemy that makes you spend more because you can, not because you need to. There is absolutely no law that states that you have to buy a bigger house or get a faster car just because you've got a pay rise because you're earning more money. And I know that it can be really tempting to want to keep up with the Joneses, but the thing is, the Joneses are dead broke and they probably always will be. Honestly though, I think that younger people are wisening up to this nowadays as investing becomes so much more accessible and more people are educating themselves financially. Earning more should be seen as an opportunity to save more and invest more. And even if you tell yourself that you're still saving and investing the same percentage, albeit less, that still means that you're spending more than you were before. And you didn't need to spend it then, so why do you need to spend it now? Now, of course, this is easier said than done. Life sometimes gets in the way, your family may be expanding or anything like that, but it's a good rule to try and stick to wherever you can. Now, number 6 is keeping too much cash on hand. Obviously, in times of an emergency, cash can be your best friend. But other than that, holding onto cash just reduces your purchasing power in the future due to inflation. Now, I know that having cash on hand can be very comforting, but if you've worked on the previous stages that we spoke about in this video and you have a detailed budget, you really don't need more than 3, maybe 6 months worth of living expenses should something bad happen. And if you're holding more cash than that, then you're missing out on everything that we've spoken about in this video because your bank definitely is not your friend and there are so many other ways to invest that money. Okay, now if you're interested in finding out about other investment opportunities and other ways of investing, check out my channel. I make weekly videos about personal finance and investing. And if you've enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments, give it a like, and I'll see you next week.